One of the most common questions I get for beginners is, can I use my Python skills for other languages? And the simple answer is yes. The basics are largely the same. Let's do an example. Let's define an integer variable in different languages. The first one is very familiar. We just did that. Number equals 5. Great. Very simple, very straightforward. Let's do the same in the programming language C++. We say integer number equals 5, semicolon. So we have two differences. First, when we define a variable, we also have to define the data type, in this case integer, and we have to end each line with a semicolon. If we compare that to C#, same spiel here. Let's go to the scripting language in Maya, the Maya embedded language MEL. We have basically the same thing with one caveat, the $sign. The $sign is here to indicate that this is a variable. And last but not least, especially if you're working in web environments, JavaScript, very much the same, just with a difference. Instead of defining the data type, we define that this is a variable. So we say var in the beginning, so number is a variable. If you compare all these 5 languages with each other, you can basically see Python is the most simplistic ones. Python doesn't use semicolons and specific data type variable definitions, which makes it much easier to handle and much easier to understand, which is basically perfect when you're starting with scripting or programming, because Python has a very easy way to get into and understand compared to a lot of more details in a language like C++ or C#. That's also why we mentioned in the beginning that Python is beginner friendly, because if you compare that, you just need to do less to get the same results, but at the same time, the main structure is the same. A, we do the same definition as we do everywhere. And B, if you understand data types, yes, the syntax is different, but you understand what the int means in the beginning. It's the integer. So we just need to learn a different syntax. But because we know how data type works and also how to define a variable, we can combine this knowledge together and jump over to a different language and use that for a different purpose. For example, you decide you want to work in Unreal, then of course you can still use Python or C++. If you decide, for example, to work also in Unity, C# would be something that you would need. In summary, when we become proficient in Python, not only does it allow us to automate processes and make our lives easier, if we ever decide to switch to a different software, to a different language, we basically have all the basic that we need to transition to something else and apply the knowledge that we learned in Python in a different language.